A little bit about what we do. I'm going to start out with swearing in our newest officer, which he's already been an officer for a while, but you know, everybody that's new in 2019, we're going to publicly swear in. So if you brought somebody who would like to pin the badge on before you go up there, just hand them the badge and they can come and pin it on. If you don't want anybody to pin it, just leave it off. So however you want to do it. And we'll take care of that. That'll be one of the first things, and then we're going to end with Officer of the Year, which this year I did a little bit different. I did not let anybody know who the Officer of the Year is going to be. So it'll be a surprise as it's announced. And I just wanted to mention, I just found out about this a couple hours ago. Richard Whitten, Deputy Richard Whitten, he passed away. So I was just made aware of that. He's the officer that was shot after that little active shooter event in Liberty County. He pulled over the suspect. He got shot today. We had a big old fundraiser for him over at Trinity Armory, and just learned that he had passed away. I don't know the reasons, but I know it's in some of the local papers already. So with that in mind, I want to ask our chaplain, Josh Fleming. He's going to say a prayer, and hopefully he'll include Richard Whitten and his family in the prayer. Pray for our meal and pray for the event.
Good evening. If y'all will join me in prayer. Father, we come to you this evening and thank you for the opportunity to gather here with co-workers, friends, and families. Lord, we thank you for all these who serve on a daily basis, Father, and the families that sacrifice to see their loved ones serve their communities. Father, we pray for the Whitten family right now, Father, who's lost a dad. We pray for his law enforcement family that's lost a brother. Father, we know that it's dangerous when you put on the badge and you go out and you serve this community, Father, and we just pray that you bless that family, you give them comfort and peace and understanding, help them as they grieve and surround them with those that love them. Father, we thank you for all those that have put this event on tonight. Father, we thank you for those that we honor tonight, that will be receiving awards. We thank you for this food and this fellowship. We give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
And I'll have everyone stand and join me in the pledge of our flags.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Texas flag.
You can be seated. Just a second, I'm going to get everybody to go ahead and get their meal, but I just wanted to let you know that we do have a speaker. I will introduce him here in a few minutes after we all get seated back from getting our meal. But while we eat, we have a speaker. He's going to talk to us about sharpening the saw, right? He's a really good friend, and I've worked with him in the past, and I will introduce him here shortly. So if everyone wants to go dig in, go ahead and get your food, and as soon as you get sat down, we'll introduce the speaker.
preference, so. I'll wait for you to listen and find what's there. So I got the Roby tour today. He's all right. I know I wouldn't have a problem with James. He's a good dog. Yeah. Well, remember he worked for Underwood for years, so you know.
Yeah,
Used to be, that's right. Used to be abuse. Did, but he wouldn't let me get out of the truck. We pulled in, he says, "Call your package." I said, "What?" I said, "Thank you." We're not going to get out. We'll just say, took me around all the county buildings.
Oh.
He was picking up keys. It's just normal, our normal Monday thing. And just showed me the buildings. In the fields we drove by the fields that Actually, I like the cemeteries. That's historical. Oh, really? Go in probably set it up after you were in, because you were in early. They were just setting it up when I came in. On Dell. For what? You're getting photo, but or video, but
Some
no,
audio. I'm
but
gonna
no
have really
sound.
creepy audio. Really have creepy audio. So you can write your video. Light go down.
Just making it up to my sound. Alfredo and roll and still working. Still working.
I'm gonna root your teeth. How'd you know? Yeah, good time. He already acts like he's working.
You got a good speech coming up. I didn't tell you a surprise.
No, I don't. Get out of here.
Tradition.
Get out of here. You're in the world. You gotta get up there.
can wipe off and say a few words at the ceremony.
That's right.
I'm gonna be like, you guys don't understand like how he is.
Oh, all these guys are different. Trust me. It's like we're all different when the body camera's on. Turn it off. Man, what did you babysit me? When it's on, oh sir, how are you today? Oh, you're working around. I see that. Okay. Oh yeah, it's tough. Tastes better when you have meat.
How you been doing? What's going on, brother? Not a whole lot. What you been up to? Not trouble. Okay.
Trying to anyway.
Trying to. That's what I was gonna say. Okay, that's better.
All right. Looks like everybody's got their food. I got a little involved in eating my food. I just looked up, saw everybody was sitting down. So I'm going to read a little introduction for Kent Hutchinson. I think some people call him Hutch. Let me see, here's the introduction. Kent Hutchinson wanted to be a lumberjack, but he couldn't hack it. Well, Kent did become a lumberjack in one way. A graduate of Stephen F. Austin State University, home of the Lumberjacks in Nacogdoches, Kent has more than 27 years of facilitating and leading others in their development journey. He is a believer in the need for continuous improvement in employee development, as well as personal leadership development. Kent regularly facilitates leadership and team retreats for organizations, utilizing his experience as both a former university administrator and as a former manager in the petrochemical and construction environment. And that's how I actually met Kent. He was a facilitator for a retreat that I was involved in. From the small southeast Texas community of Orangefield, this fifth-generation Texan now calls East Texas home, is involved as a community and business influencer. He is a frequent advisor to business owners and organization managers, and he is passionate about leadership and team development, the emotional intelligence of others, and the continuous sharpening of the saw in general. Please welcome my friend Kent Hutchinson.
Thank you. How y'all doing? Good. Y'all go ahead and keep eating. I am from East Texas. I grew up in Orangefield. Orangefield's not known, it's over in southeast Texas, over near Beaumont. It's not known for its beautiful orange groves. That's it, because it was orange oil field. But I've lived my entire adult life in Nacogdoches, and my accent has gotten thicker and thicker the longer I've lived in East Texas. And it gets thicker if I've been talking about hunting or fishing, or if I've been drinking bourbon. And I had, no, from a bunch of cops, I can't tell you I've been drinking bourbon all afternoon. No, I'm joking. I have. My wife goes, don't tell that joke. Please don't tell that joke. I always joke about the my accent gets thicker. I appreciate being here. I know we're here to honor, tonight's banquet is here to honor officers and their service and their accomplishments. And we mentioned a minute ago during our prayer, but You know, I looked at a stat earlier, but during the month of month of January 2020, across the nation, we lost 12 officers. So before we begin tonight, can we just pause for just a moment with our meal? Let's take a moment of silence to remember those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, not only in 2019, but the years before, but particularly the 12 officers that died in January this year. Thank you. As long as there's been leaders of people throughout history, there's been different types of ceremonies and awards to honor folks. Throughout history, some have chosen to honor our local heroes through human sacrifices, community parades, dancing girls, speeches, and gaudy coronations, galas. Well, since Roman Forest Police Department doesn't really have a written procedure for honoring its officers, and this has been several years that the chief has done this, I get to pretty much do whatever I want to do up here tonight. So, however, I've been told that the community kind of frowns upon human sacrifices, so that's out. And parades, well, the city council requires permits for that. We didn't have that, so that's kind of out. Well, dancing girls, there's always strings attached. And we don't have enough money for a big gala, so all that's left is a speech. So you get me. So Chief, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here with your team. If you like me, come tell me afterwards. If you don't, blame it on the chief, right? I do have, he asked me to speak about sharpening the saw. It's a story he's heard me tell a couple of times at a couple of seminars. I'm a frequent instructor at Lehman, and as well as Stephen F. Austin State University. The chief is involved in a training up there right now. And he invited me and went to talk about sharpening the saw. The more I thought about it, I got thinking there's a couple of stories I want to tell. So I'm going to tell you a couple of different stories, and they're going to sound disjointed at first, but I promise you they all tie together at the end. And I think it's very applicable as we start talking about sharpening the saw, and we think about the awards we've got, we received tonight, and the honors we want to give. I think about New College in Oxford, England. It's an old college. It was founded in 1379, a long time ago. It has, like other colleges of that era, this grand hall, a grand dining hall with big oak beams. It's kind of like something out of Harry Potter. It has these big oak beams that are 2 feet square, 45 feet long. If you can kind of visualize a room like this, but with big oak beams across the top. It's a beautiful building. And it was built in 1379. Well, about 100 years ago, about a century ago, I was told that some busy entomologist, a guy who studies bugs, got up there and he started kind of inspecting those wooden beams. He got a pen and was kind of poking around at them. And sure enough, he poked at them and he found they were full of beetles, which is pretty common in that area of England. Well, this was reported to the college council, which met with some dismay because they were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for this? We didn't expect this. We didn't expect this, that these buildings would not last this long. We weren't expecting to find big oaks how were we going to find those oak beams that size? And they really were worried about that. How could we replace this dining hall with the same caliber of dining hall that we had before? Well, one of the junior fellows stuck his neck out and suggested that there might be some worthy oaks on some college lands. You see, these colleges, much like our colleges today, they're endowed with land all over the country. And on this land, they use that land for revenue producing and so forth. And they had a college forester that was overseeing that land. And so they reached out to that college forester, who had not been near the college himself. And when they brought him on campus, he scratched his head and says, well, sirs, we've been kind of wondering when y'all would ask. We have a plan for this. And upon inquiry, what they found was in 1379, when the college was founded, they were wise enough to go ahead and plant some oak trees. And they knew those oak trees would be used at some point later in the construction of replacing those beams in that dining hall. And they got to thinking about it because they knew that those beams at some point would be infested with beetles, because they always do. The plan had been passed down from one forester to another for more than 641 years. 641 years they passed down this information. And they said, don't cut down them oaks, those oaks for dining hall. Think about that for a moment. What an excellent opportunity we have as leaders to leave a legacy for the future. Much like they did with those beams. They planned for the future. They got to thinking about what do we need to do as our community grows, as our campus grows. Are we planting the seeds for future growth? Every one of us here tonight, and particularly you officers, particularly as we think about, we celebrate the 45th anniversary of our community, but we also think about our department, how our department culture has grown, and as our community has grown, and how this part of Montgomery County has grown. Each one of us is going to leave a legacy, and it depends on us. So what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Have you thought about the legacy that you want to leave for your department, for your community, for your family? I want you to think about it, because knowing about that, think about how you want to remember, decide, it helps you decide how you want to live and work today. As you remember those officers that have blazed the trail through the forest before us, those that have retired and have moved on, that were here many, many years ago, they set a course for us. We think about the legacy that they have. We must think about that. I think about my legacy all the time. I have a daughter who's in the Army. She's overseas right now. She's in the middle of all this over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. She's in Afghanistan right now. She's been there since August. I have another daughter who's a freshman. And I think about my legacy that I want to leave. And I'm very proud of my daughters. I'm very proud of them, but I also remind them of the legacy they need to leave. I ask myself, and I challenge you to ask yourself these questions. Do I do what is important every day? Do I work on what is important every day? Do I accomplish those things that are meaningful and worthy of my time as a police officer? I've been blessed with a little bit of time on this earth. Am I working on those things that are important and essential to my job? And this concept can be extended beyond your professional life, but also to your personal life. Do I take care of the people around me? Do I make sure that they're supported? My coworkers, my rookies, my colleagues, my spouse, my family. Am I taking care of those? Do I love and nurture them the same way that I want to be nurtured? Do I pursue meaningful employment? Do I enjoy working for the department I do? And if not, have I told my captain? Have I told my sergeant? Have I had a conversation about why I don't enjoy working? It's important that we ask these questions. Am I making Roman Forest, Montgomery County, Texas, the United States a better place to live through my service? That's the legacy we leave. These are questions I ask myself, and these are questions you should ask yourself. What would be your legacy? Will it be one of selfless service, integrity, compassion, thoughtfulness, or will it be something else? Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas, once said, "I have the labor to perform and the seed to sow, but my successors shall reap the harvest." Let me say that again. I have the labor to perform and the seed to sow, but my successors shall reap the harvest. Tonight we're here to celebrate. We're here to celebrate a few folks for not only their years of service, but also to commend folks for the work they've done to make our community safer. We're here to celebrate the legacy of our community. 45 years. That's a big deal, folks. What's the next 45 years going to look like? What's the 45 years after that's going to look like? That all depends upon you and how we approach this. What an excellent opportunity we have to leave a legacy on our community. Just like the founders of New Oxford College with the planting of the oaks. Just like Stephen F. Austin when he brought those 300 families and settled down in Missouri County to form a new nation. What type of legacy do you want to leave? Story number 2. There's an East Texas legend about 2 lumberjacks. Both men were skilled woodsmen. although the first one was much bigger. He wielded a big axe. He was just a huge guy. He didn't have to be accurate because he was just so large. In his size alone, he could fell so many trees. He was known as a guy who could produce for him. He was a producer. He was known wide and far for his ability to produce the significant amounts of trees and product for the local mills. Many people hired him just because of his size. After all, we've all learned that bigger is better, right? We go to the big store because they have more stuff. Bigger companies are better people. Bigger departments are better, right? Or not necessarily true. After all, that's what his customers reasons, right? Well, despite his size, the second woodsman, his frame was a little smaller. But fame was spreading around him because he was known for his accuracy, his attention to detail. There was very little waste in his efforts, so his customers ended up with a better product of money for their money. Soon word spread that his work was even better than his larger competitor because he gave attention to detail and accuracy. Upon hearing this, that larger man was worried. That larger lumberjack was worried that his reputation was going to be, and so he wondered, how can this be? I'm much bigger. I must be better because that's all we've heard our entire life. Bigger is better. So he proposed a competition between the two men. And he decided that they had a full day of chopping down trees. And they'd see who's more productive. The winner would be declared the greatest lumberjack of them all. The smaller man agreed. The date for the bout was set. The townspeople all began talking. They placed their bets. The larger woodman had odds of 20-1. People were betting on him because, after all, bigger is better. That's what we've been told. Well, the evening before the bout, both men kind of went to their camps and they spent a little bit of time sharpening their axe, sharpening their blades. The smaller woodsman strategized about the bout. He knew that he would never be able to compete head-to-head against the larger man on sheer strength. He had to have a different plan. He needed to be competitive. Both men went to bed that night thinking they were going to win that battle the next day. Morning broke, the entire town showed up. They started cheering for the lumberjacks. Competition started with the shotgun start by the judge. The first woodsman, the larger man, the muscular man, muscular and broad, he leaped into action. He sawed vigorously. He chopped vigorously. He continuously, without stopping, knowing that each tree he felled brought him closer to victory. The second woodsman did the same thing. He wasted no time. He jumped into action. He attacked his trees with every intention of winning that battle as well. But unlike his larger competition, that smaller man stopped every hour, on the hour, and took a break. And during his break, he sharpened his blade. He sharpened his saw. He went to training. He read books. He utilized his tools he had to become a better employee for that woodsman, just like you should in your work. This worried the townspeople. They murmured to themselves, surely he could not win if he stopped like this and he kept up this pace. His friends pleaded with him to work harder, to speed up. To no avail. Every hour, he stopped to sharpen his blade. This pattern continued to the end of the day when both men stopped when the judge yelled time, signaling the end of the match. And both men stood there in front of their pile of trees, thinking they had won. The larger man stood winded, exhausted, but proud of his pile of trees, knowing that he'd given his best. He'd given 100%. He had been there. He did not take a break. He was tired from that incident, right? Surely he was the winner. The smaller woodsman also stood by his pile of trees. Though unlike his competitor, he was still fresh. He was ready to continue if necessary. He also stood confident that he had won the battle. The trees were counted and it was announced the second woodsman indeed had won the battle. He was now known as the greatest lumberjack in the land. Now the judge shook his hand and gave him the ceremonial axe. So here's your blade, here's your new blade, here's your new axe. You're the greatest lumberjack of them all. The larger man, most of the townspeople just stood there baffled. They were stunned by the announcement. After all, he was stronger. He was bigger. He knew that he was supposed to win because he was told that bigger is better. But the smaller woodsman, he knew for him to beat a larger competitor, his instruments had to be continuously sharpened. His axe was smaller, therefore each swing must be more accurate to produce a better product. By stopping to sharpen his blade, he had proven for once and all that he was a better man for the job. The moral of the story is continuous improvement always deliver better results. The Roman Forest Police Department is much like that smaller woodsman. We're a smaller department when you start comparing us to some of our neighbors, especially to the south, right? Or to the west of us. We're a smaller department. We don't have all the same resources that they do. We're going to have to be cross-trained in a lot of things. Patrolmen are going to have to do a little more investigation work. We're going to have to do a little more lead work. We're going to have to do a lot of work of our collections, right? Of crime scenes. We don't have all the expertise, the years of experience, and the knowledge base that some of the other departments have. To be successful for Roman Forest, to be successful for this community, we must work daily to sharpen our saw, or sharpen our axe. Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Effective Leaders, he talks about sharpening the saw. What are you doing every day to sharpen your blade? What training classes or continuing ed classes outside of the state mandated classes are you taking? What are you doing? Are you learning another language? Are you learning another skill set? Are you getting cross-trained? Are you finding out what dispatch does? Are you finding out what EMS does? What else are you doing? Are you learning some investigative techniques? What are you doing to sharpen your saw? What books? What journals? What criminal justice publications or websites are you following and reading regularly to find out what is the new technology out there that we need to be looking at and embracing? What new tactics are working? You see, the key is continuous improvement. Tonight we recognize some of our officers. Tonight we're going to recognize the folks who, like the smaller woodsman, sharpen their tools on a regular basis. Tonight's not about the chief, but I've known him for several years, and what I've noticed about him, every time I've met him at a training. He was either going to Lehman, or he was participating in a community leadership program, or he was participating in Stephen F. Austin in a certified public manager program, constantly sharpening his saw. Now he'll admit to you, he knows everything there is about Star Wars. But he'll tell you, I want to keep learning about my community. I want to keep learning how I can be a better leader for my men and women that I work with. He strives to do that. And I like that about him. We've got to sharpen our tools regularly. It's biblical. It's biblical as well. In the Old Testament, the Christian Old Testament, it reads, using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. Sharpening the saw means that we're taking time to relieve stress and seek that personal growth and improvement. If you're not green and growing, you're ripe and rotting. Think about that for a minute. Some of us right here in this room, we're ripe and we're rotting. If you're not green and growing, you're ripe and rotting. Failing to take time to refresh yourself means that you're not improving, you're not becoming effective, and you may be running toward burnout. According to Stephen Covey, there's 4 dimensions of sharpening your saw that you need to look at. Your body, that's your physical side of you. Are you eating right? Are you getting enough rest? I know some of y'all think, I can get by with 4 or 5 hours of sleep. No, you can't. The research shows that you can't. You've got to get your 7 to 9 hours sleep. You've got to, on a regular basis. You've got the better sleep, the better you sleep, the better you can perform. 6 hours, 7 hours is the minimum that the human body needs on a regular basis. Your brain, your cognitive development. Are you staying sharp? As we age, our memories don't stay so sharp. We've got to work on them. Our heart, our emotional intelligence, your emotional bank accounts. Covey talks about our emotional bank accounts. Throughout our day, we go through life and it's like a bank account, it's like your checking account. You make deposits and withdrawal. And when you bark at somebody or you bite their head off and you complain to dispatch or you complain to a coworker and you bite their head or your spouse, you snip at them, that's a withdrawal. And if you make too many withdrawals, what happens? You go bankrupt. Sharpening the saw is about putting those emotional deposits in those relationships. And finally, your soul, your spiritual side, your sense of inner peace. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about you being in touch. You being in touch with your inner peace and direction. A good analogy of this is the fact that you need all 4 tires on a car. You need all 4 tires. As a police officers, we need to take care of all 4 parts of ourselves to balance ourselves, to balance our careers. Story number 3, the parable of the pencil. I don't know if you've ever looked at a pencil, number 2 pencil. We've used it since we were kids. We use one now. We made a different form, but the number 2 pencil is still out there. The pencil maker, he took the pencil aside one day before he put him in the box. The pencil maker, just like we tell our children, the pencil maker looked at that pencil and he looked at him over, and he says, there's 5 things you need to know before I send you out in the world. And remember, these things, and never forget them, and you'll be the best pencil ever. Number 1, everything you do leaves a mark. No matter what condition you're in, you must continue to write. Number 2, you can able to create even the best mistakes you make. You have an eraser right there. You have a brain in your head. If there's a mistake, we can fix it more than likely. Number 3, what's important to you, what's important about you, the most important thing about this pencil is on the inside. That lead. That's what does the work. In life, number 4, in life, you'll undergo multiple, painful sharpenings. It's going to take the hide off you sometimes. Some of you are going to go through divorces. Some of you have gone through divorces. We're going to go through death. A family, friend, spouse, child, we're going to have that painful sharpening from time to time. But you need to do that to become a better pencil. Number 5, to be the best pencil, you must allow yourself to be held and guided by the hand that holds you. The pencil understood and promised to remember, and he went inside the box with purpose in his heart. Well, we all need to be sharpened from time to time. Now, replacing the pencil with you, I want you to remember these, and you'll become the best police officer for Roman Forest that you can be. On the surface, on every surface you walk, you must leave your mark. No matter the situation, you must continue to do your duties. Think about the people you interact with every day, in and outside of your uniform, that know you're a police officer. You will leave your mark. Number 2, you're going to be able to correct most of your mistakes. And I say most of our mistakes. There might be mistakes out there from time to time that you can't correct. But we should be able to correct most of our mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. You have an eraser for that. You have officers, you have chiefs, you have captains, you have sergeants that help you out with that. Number 3, the essential part is what's inside of you. Integrity, service. Remember why we're here. We deal with bad guys every day. It's going to be real easy for us to start talking and thinking like bad guys. We got to remember what's inside of us and what got us in this profession in the first place. What's inside of you? Number 4, you're going to experience lots of painful sharpening from time to time. That might be a superior pulling you in and having a little dialogue with you. We call it dialogue now, right? We don't cuss at you anymore. We dialogue with you. But no, you're going to do that. You're going to have those difficult conversations from time to time. And you might have to have those painful sharpenings with your family members from time to time. But you do those, you face those life problems to become a stronger officer. And you'll be, number 5, you'll be able to do many great things, but only if you allow yourself to be guided by the hands. Your officers, your city council. Let other human beings access the many gifts that you have. I want you to think about that story of the pencil. And though you're a special person, just like that pencil was a special pencil, you're a special officer. We appreciate that. Remember what you were born to accomplish. Don't allow yourself to just get discouraged or think your life or career is insignificant. Anything you cannot change, because you can. As the pencil, remember, the essential part is what's inside of you. And finally, I want to share this last story with you. There was a time there was a guy walking through the woods in East Texas, farmer. He was walking through East Texas and he found a young eagle. And I don't know if you know, but here in East Texas, when those eagles fall out of those trees, out of the tall pine trees, and they fall to the forest floor, the mama eagles don't go down there and rescue their babies. Because more than likely the fall itself has killed the eagle, or if it hasn't, maybe a predator has come by and eaten the eagle, the baby. So they leave them there. So this farmer was walking through the forest and he found this eagle on the forest floor. It was still alive. So he picked that eagle up and he brought him home and he put him in with his chickens there at the poultry farm he had there in Nacogdoches. And that eagle learned to eat chicken food. And he started living with the chickens. And as he ate the chicken food and started eating the chicken food, guess what? He started behaving like the chickens. One day a professor from Stephen F. Austin walked by and he saw that eagle, the king of all birds, living among the chickens. And he thought that was odd. He says, why hadn't they flown away? And so he asked the farmer, he says, farmer, why is the eagle, the king of all birds, living among the chickens and not flown away? And the farmer says, well, he's not an eagle, he's a chicken. He said, I fed him chicken feed. I raised him as a chicken. He never learned to fly. He's not an eagle anymore. He's a chicken. He says, I've given him that. He's just no longer an eagle. That professor from Stephen F. Austin said, surely, maybe he can be taught to fly. He has the heart of an eagle, the king of all birds. Well, after talking to them, they thought they would try it out. So gently, the professor picked up that bird. He took him, his eagle in his arms, and says, eagle, king of all birds, you have the heart of an eagle. You stretch your wings to the sky. You belong in the sky, not on this earth. Stretch forth your wings and fly. And that eagle didn't know who he was. He looked down and saw his friends eating chicken feed. And so he jumps back down there to be with his chickens. Because it was easy to live among the chickens. Well, undismayed, they took him to the top of the house and up to the barn, and they got to the top of the barn, and they opened up the little hayloft thing up to the top of the barn, and the cupola, and they stood up there at the very top. And the eagle looked around back and forth, and they said, you are the eagle, spread your wings and fly. The eagle looked around and looked back toward the barnyard, and he looked up at the sky, and he was scared. He didn't know who he was. He still did not fly. Then the naturalist lifted him straight into the sky, right into the sun. And when he did, that eagle spread his wings. And when he spread his wings, the wind kind of caught the wings, spread that, and at last, with a triumphant cry, that eagle let out a cry and jumped forward and began to fly. That may be that the eagle still remembers the chickens with nostalgia. We don't have a webcam out there. He may still come back and visit at night. We don't know. But as far as we know, he's never returned to that barnyard to live as a chicken. He was an eagle, even though he'd been kept and tamed as a chicken. Each of us in this room has the heart of an eagle. We want to succeed, find meaning and joy and love in our lives. We're whole, we're capable individuals. We're resourceful individuals. Failure is real, but it's learned because we grew up in an imperfect world. An acorn planted in poor soil will fail to grow to its full potential. Likewise, we grew up in environments which we receive little nourishment, and we learn to live from our lesser selves versus our greater selves. But your association, every one of us in this room, your association with the Roman Forest Police Department and the Police Association plants you firmly in good soil. There's no reason for us not to grow to the full potential as a leader or police officer. You too have a heart of an eagle. You have the heart of a visionary leader. You're no longer dining with the chickens. You're soaring with the eagles. But the choice of what you want to do is up to you. Some of you are going to go back to your patrol duties, continue doing what you've always done. You're just going to do it because it's easy. Eating with the chickens. But to soar with the eagles, you must be a principled leader. You must be a leader with vision. You've got to be a leader that's going to continuously sharpen your saw. I challenge you to be present, embrace reality, have a clear vision and purpose, act with integrity. It's not going to be easy to soar with the eagles, and it's going to be much harder than feeding with the chickens. But you have the heart of an eagle. You have the heart of a leader. So I want you to remember those things. The parable of the pencil, sharpening your saw, and the legacy we can leave, that you have the heart of a leader. Thank y'all very much for allowing me to be here to witness this tonight and be with you guys. Thank y'all very, very much.
All right, there's some cake going around, and we do have plenty of food, so if anybody needs any more food, there's plenty to eat. We got a little slideshow ready to go. It's one song long, right? So just pay attention to the screen over here. There's a few little noise down. You can do that, right? That was a good job with the slideshow, and it was an awesome job with that speech. I love his speech. I've been to numerous ones, and he's a long talker though. I think I said 20 minutes. He went over to 30, I think. I wasn't watching though. I enjoy his speeches. So I want to explain. There's two people here that have a different patch. They're the same uniform almost, but different patch and a different badge. It's because they used to work for us in 2019, and I fired them, and now they went to the sheriff's department. So no, they were awesome. I didn't want them to go, but they left. They think that they need a little more territory, but one of them is here. He's one of our guests of honor, actually. So we got something special for him later today. Anyway, I'll explain what our program's about. And the best way I can do that is I always read the policy. So this is what our policy says. Employee recognition is one of the police department's strongest motivators. Therefore, it should be the policy of this agency to recognize and present citations, commendations, and awards to employees for exemplary, exceptionally meritorious, heroic acts, and outstanding professional behavior to stimulate employee morale and motivation. In addition, this agency will recognize and present citations, commendations, and awards to citizens who assist the police department in achieving the police mission of public safety. All recommendations regarding the police department, citations, commendations, or awards shall be forwarded to the chief of police through the chain of command, who shall have the final approval. While each recommendation will be seriously considered, only those meeting the established criteria will be approved. All awards worn must comply with the standards as outlined. This award program is designed to recognize employees who provide outstanding law enforcement services in the best interest of public safety. Award and citation bars are encouraged to be proudly worn every time you wear your uniform. I wanted to honor, because most people here are with an officer, so I wanted to honor law enforcement families. Can I have all spouses or girlfriends of law enforcement officers to stand? Some of you have been married to an officer for a long time, and some are just now getting with that officer. So you guys have my utmost respect. There's nothing, I don't believe there's a spouse out there that has to put up the same stuff that you guys have to put up with. You know, every situation's different, every department's different, but the same thing is, you know, when your spouse goes to work, you never know. You never know what could happen. And you probably have thought about, you know, any possibility. So I really commend you guys for putting up with us, and thank you. Aside from our law enforcement explorers, is there anybody in the house that's like 18 or younger, or 17 or younger, besides the law enforcement explorers? No, not mental. So, anybody bring their kids, is what I'm saying? there's a couple kids up here. I got something for you. So anybody that's 17 and younger, come up here. I got a little something to give you. I think you feel a little out of place because everybody else is wearing a badge. I think y'all can wear one too. So come on up here. There's somebody that looks kind of like you around here too. All right, come and line up over here for me. All right, now we got some badges on some of these youngsters. Did I miss anybody? Everybody's got a badge? Smith, yes, you know what? Those, I'll get you later. I'll put this over your badge. All right, so I want to introduce Chief Troy Wooten. He's been an awesome to me. I don't know if he realizes it. He's even a little bit of a mentor to me. He's been, I think he's the longest running chief here in the area. He's probably the highest paid too. But he's awesome. I need some advice. I can give him a call, especially about juvenile issues, but sometimes about employee issues. He always shoots straight with me. He's an awesome guy. He knows what he's doing. And I was sitting here thinking about who was going to be master of ceremonies this year, and he seemed like the perfect choice. So I appreciate it. Chief of New Caney School District Police, Troy Wooten. And I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'll stand over here and give it all on boards, and I'm sure you got it underneath.
Let me move this up so I can speak into it. Well, first,
We've already started.
it's hard for me to stand behind this, but I'm gonna have to stand behind it when I'm reading. But I'm gonna step over here for a moment, so I'll project my voice, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me in the back. When Chief Carlisle was talking about the spouses of the law enforcement officers, there's one person that you can talk to that has put up with a police officer at the end of this month, for 31 years. It's my wife, Deborah, over here. And I'll have to pay for that later because she gave me the look. You guys know what I'm talking about. She doesn't like that. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do this tonight, because a lot of times law enforcement is not recognized. They're not. And so anytime I have the opportunity to say, wow, you did a good job, you're great, you're awesome, I'm going to take that opportunity. So I'm not going to take a long time, but our guest speaker tonight was awesome. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Awesome. Okay, so let's get started here. He did put it in fonts I can read. I've just got to find it. The first thing we'd like to do tonight is honor our retired officers. Is Stephen McGinn here?
Magoo.
That ain't what it says. Wow. Stephen McGinn retired in 2010. Oh, this next group of people we definitely need to recognize. If I call your name,
please come up to the front. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilwoman Jill Carson.
Thank you for being here.
Councilman Conley Wallace. Councilman David Mullane. Thank you for your support and guidance for the new for Roman Forest Police Department. Thank you. We would also like to honor all military veterans, or if you are serving now. So if you will please stand. If you were ever in the service, all military veterans. And thank you for your service. All right, now we're going to begin our officer recognition with the oath of office. If Brent Guidry would come up, please.
You can face the audience. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me.
I, Brent Guidry,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of peace officer
of the office of peace officer
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas.
and will to the best of my ability
I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Now, he's been wearing the badge for half a year. But
We will now be presenting our service bars. One bar is permitted for each completed 4 years of service. Approved service bars may be worn centered on the left sleeve of long sleeve shirts, 4 inches from the end of the sleeve. The first recipient for 1 year service bar will be Captain Lonnie Campwell. We'll make sure he gets it. The next one is 4 years service bars, or 4 service bars, 4 service bars, Corporal Randy Black.
Randy.
Next will be our specialty pins. Specialty pins may be worn centered and 1/4 inch above the name tag, or if award and achievement ribbons are worn centered above the ribbons on the Class A or B uniform. In the event an employee has more than 3 specialty pins, the employee must decide which 3 pins will be worn. Our first pin is for field training officer. The field training officer must have successfully completed a field training officer training course and currently be in an FTO position with the Patrol Division. We have one individual here tonight, and that's Robert Bymaster.
There you go. That's better. There you go.
Our next specialty specialty pin is Special Weapons and Tactics, also known as SWAT. They must have successfully completed an approved SWAT certification course and assigned to the East Montgomery County Strategic Response Team. Our first recipient is Brian Sniper Cirola.
They all get a nickname in the class. Down in front.
Gotcha.
Congrats.
Oh, this is good. I like this one. The next recipient is Jacob Combat Panda Culver.
Oh, boy.
Next will be the Roman Forest Police Association Awards. President Randall Blackheader wanted to give special recognition and a commendation award certificate to the group of individuals who spent hours planning the Officer Greg Salmon benefit, which raised over $15,000. When I call your name, please step forward. Charlie Carlisle. Rachel Rippey. Jackie Garza. Jody Runabar. Captain Dimitri Jasonis. Chief Stephen Carlisle. And we'd also like to mention Captain Lonnie Campbell, but I believe he's not here tonight. Okay, thank you. We will now move on to the City of Roman Forest City Employee Years of Service pins. This is the first year that the City of Roman Forest will be giving service award pins to employees with 1 or more years of service. The pins will be awarded for the first year and in 5-year increments. Since this is the first year of giving out service pins, there are a few employees that will be given multiple pins to award them for their continued service to the City of Roman Forest. Councilman Conley Wallace will be giving out the service pins and thanking these employees for their continued service to the city of Roman Forest. First employee is Jacob Culver, was hired on 6/1/2018 and will be receiving a 1-year pin. Rachel Rippey. Okay, we'll move on. She will be receiving a 1-year service pin. Mark Smith. Mark Smith was hired in August of 2018 and will be receiving a 1-year service pin. Jackie Garza. She was hired in March of 2016, has been with the city for 3 years, and will be receiving her 1-year service pin. Randall Blackketter. Hired in September 2015, has been with the city 4 years and will be receiving their 1-year service pin. Kristen Duke. She was hired in January of 2015. Has been with the city 5 years. She will be receiving 2 pins, her 1st-year pin and her 5-year service pin. Liz Mullane. Hired in November of 2012, has been with the city for 7 years. She will be receiving her 1st-year pin and her 5-year pin. Next will be Captain Dimitri Jasonis, hired in September of 2009, has been with the city for 10 years. He will be receiving his 1st-year pin, 5-year pin, and 10-year pin. Next will be Chief Stephen Carlisle. Was hired in June of 2005, has 14 years with the city, and will be receiving his 1st-year pin, 5-year pin, and 10-year pin. Or is our next category. Achievement ribbons may be worn in a line-centered inch. I would assume that was inch, but I'm reading as he wrote, so. May be worn in a line centered above the name tag or above the years of service ribbon and/or meritorious award ribbons on the Class A or B uniform. The most important worn closest to your heart. The Reserve Officer of the Year Award is our next presentation. Officer of the Year Awards are worn as achievements above any meritorious awards, but are presented as the person of honor at this event. The Officer of the Year and Reserve Officer of the Year is not always that officer that made a one-time honorable act of bravery, but rather the officer that is consistent in their contribution to this department. Reserve Officer of the Year recipients should demonstrate and continually promote the department's goals and mission. Areas of consideration should include exceptional work ethic, expertise and integrity, superior overall performance in his or her areas of responsibility, initiative to take on commitments above and beyond the call of duty, exceptional ability to interact with peers and the public in crisis situations as well as day-to-day activities, and exceptional contributions to the department and community. Our Reserve Officer of the Year recipient is Ronnie Bubba Tullis. Each year, the Roman Forest Police Department gives a Reserve Officer of the Year award to a well-rounded law enforcement officer who has exceeded the duty requirements expected of his or her position and has demonstrated a distinct pattern of community service coupled with professional achievement. This year's 2019 Reserve Officer of the Year is Ronnie Bubba Tullis for a career dedicated to fairness and humanity. Your co-workers, teammates, and friends salute your pursuit of excellence. Officer Tullis donates his time teaching the License to Carry course, which brings in thousands of dollars in donation for the Police Department Training Fund. Thank you for going above and beyond for the officers and citizens of the City of Roman Forest. Your selfless dedication and tireless efforts have touched and changed countless people in our community. We honor your service as Reserve Officer of the Year for inspiring greatness within the community. Congratulations on the job. Well done. The Citizen Award or Certificate of Appreciation shall be awarded to a citizen for their efforts in promoting the cause of good law enforcement, respect for the law, for outstanding service to the police department, for promoting a safer and wholesome community, or personal assistance by a civilian in the apprehension of a criminal or critical first aid response. The Certificate of Appreciation recipient this year is Steve Wonderman. Steve Wonderman has continued to promote the cause of good law enforcement and outstanding service to the Roman Forest Police Department by continuing to back many of the Roman Forest Police Department's programs, both with personal and financial assistance. Steve Wonderman also serves on our Training Advisory Board. Thank you for your support. The East Montgomery County Improvement District has granted tens of thousands of dollars over the years to the Roman Forest Police Department for various law enforcement and community projects. In 2019, MCED purchased an AXA dash cameras for our patrol vehicles. Thank you for your support. Montgomery County Precinct 4 Citizen Academy Alumni. Montgomery County Precinct 4 Citizen Academy Alumni has continued to promote the cause of good law enforcement and outstanding service to many law enforcement agencies. Many members of the Montgomery County Precinct 4 Citizens Academy alumni assisted the Roman Forest Police Department and the Roman Forest Police Association with Officer Salmon benefit. Thank you for your support. Right. Sean D. Tullis. her time assisting her husband, Officer Bubba Tolis, with a license to carry course, which brings in thousands of dollars in donations for the Police Department Training Fund. Thank you for going above and beyond for the officers and citizens of the city of Roman Forest, and thank you for your support. There are 2 more citizen awards that will be given under a different category later in the program. We will now move on to promotion. Will Robert Bymaster please come forward? And his significant other. Corporal Robert Bymaster is a retired sergeant from the Houston Police Department. Since hiring on with Roman Forest Police Department, Corporal Bymaster has proven to be an asset. With his 38 years of service and supervisory experience, he will make a great addition to our supervisory staff. Next will be the Years of Service Award. The Years of Service Award designating years of law enforcement service. Each star represents 5 years of service. 25 years and every 5 years after are represented by a shield with the corresponding year of service, which is to be worn 1/4 inch above the nameplate over the right pocket. Our first 5-year service award will go to Jackie Garcia. Our next recipient is Corporal Fidel Flores. For 10 years of service. Next is our Meritorious Awards. Meritorious Award ribbons may be worn in a line centered 1/4 inch above the name tag, above the right breast pocket of the dress or ceremonial Class A or B uniform shirt, above the years of service ribbon. The Meritorious Service Bar may be awarded to an employee for a highly credible accomplishment, whose meritorious conduct singularly deserves attention and has brought honor and recognition to the employee, the police department, and law enforcement profession as a result of training, devotion to duty, or service to the public, resulting in improved administration, operation, or substantial savings in manpower or costs, whose idea and/or action merit commendatory attention through the use of creative policing initiatives, whose personal actions or exemplary personal conduct reflects favorable on the police department and its personnel. Would Ronnie Bubba Tullis please come forward? For the past 4 years, Bubba Tullis has donated his time teaching the License to Carry course, which brings in thousands of dollars in donations for the police department and training fund. This License to Carry course is offered for free to the public through the Roman Forest Police Department several times a year. Besides Chief Carlisle, Bubba is probably the most well-known officer of the Roman Forest Police Department due to his License to Carry classes and good deeds. To the public, Bubba Tullis, whose personal actions and exemplary personal conduct reflects favorable on the police department and its personnel, qualifies him to receive this meritorious conduct award. Now, you'll have to bear with me on this next one. It's a lot of reading. And he put font this size. I want to read a news story by the Bluebonnet News as we go into the life-saving awards. This is the headlines on the newspaper. Roman Forest mom, daughter, grateful to rescuers who pulled them from flooded home during Imelda. A Roman Forest mom who was rescued from the rising waters of Peach Creek during Hurricane Imelda says if not for the heroic actions of their rescuers, she and her 12-year-old daughter and pet dog likely would have been swept away. On the morning of the storm, September the 19th, Tanya Hazen, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, recalls looking out at her backyard and noticing water quickly coming up. I thought, wow, that water is really rising fast. I opened the back door and the water was almost at the threshold. I went back inside and woke up my daughter. We didn't have any TV reception because we have satellite TV and the signal was out, she said. Within moments, water was creeping into the house. When it got ankle deep, she called her husband Billy at work to alert him of the situation. By 11 a.m., the water had risen much higher, so she called her husband back to say that she was calling 911 to arrange a rescue. Knowing that her small car would be overtaken by the current, Hazen said a boat rescue was their only way to safety. The 911 operators told me they had boats out in my area and someone would be by. We grabbed some clothes and put them in plastic bags so they wouldn't get wet. Before I knew it, the water was knee-deep inside the house. We had no time to prepare, she said. Hazen and her daughter tried opening the back door of the house, but water pressure against the door made it impossible. She began looking for windows she could raise to make an escape. However, the water pressure against the windows and doors kept them from being opened. Hazen began to fear that they would drown inside the home. When we couldn't get out of the house, I started to panic, but I couldn't let my daughter know because she was being so brave. She had been crying at one point and I didn't want her to be scared. She believes that God helped her restore her calm so she could think through the situation and find a way out through the top half of the storm door. We couldn't open the door, so we waited until the water was high enough that we would climb out on the top part of the storm door without injuring ourselves. I pushed my daughter out through the opening and she swam to the car. Then I pushed the dog out and he swam to my daughter. When it was her turn to flee the house, Hazen found a piece of floating debris inside the house to lift her up through the opening. Then she swam to her car where her daughter and dog were huddled together. At that point, we were standing on the roof of the car and the hood was already submerged. Then it started raining again, and I just said, "Oh God, no." With her daughter's survival in mind, she came up with a plan to boost her onto the roof of their house, even if it meant that she herself would not survive. I thought that when the water got high enough, I could push my daughter onto the roof of the house and she could wait there for a rescue. At that moment, an ill-equipped rescue party comprised of Officer Carlos Herrera and Roman Forest Maintenance Supervisor Mark Smith called out to her from a small boat powered by a troll motor. City Administrator Liz Mullane, who was helping to coordinate the city's response, borrowed the boat from a resident. Herrera, who is trained in swiftwater rescues, and Smith, an Army veteran, were the most equipped for the rescue, explained Roman Forest Police Chief Stephen Carl. However, the rescue party soon found themselves in danger when the boat couldn't ferry them back. The current was too strong for the boat, for the motor and the weight it was carrying. It was too much. The rescuers kept telling me that we were lucky, and I knew it. They kept saying, "Don't worry, you're in a boat and you're safe now," Hazen said. Honestly, I didn't even know we were still in a situation until afterwards. When the rescue party failed to show up back at the command center, Captain Dimitri J. Sanas, who was stationed on the other side of Peach Creek, flagged down a boat that was on its way to Patton Village to help with the rescue. He talked to the boat owner, Daniel Ballard, into helping on our side of the creek. He found them and was able to rescue them and the boat, said Roman Forest Police Chief Stephen Carlisle. Had the guy not come along when he did, they might have been able to hang on to the house or climb onto the roof to wait it out. I know for sure that had our guys not gone to rescue Miss Hazen and her daughter, they would have drowned. Ballard, a construction company owner and firefighter from the League City area, was launching the boat from Roman Forest with his buddy Richard Summers, also of League City, when he was approached by Captain Jay Sonis. The pair were heading for Patton Village along with another rescue boat piloted by Justin Lowe of Huffman. We were out there all day doing rescues in Roman Forest and Patton Village. We did somewhere around 20 rescues that day, Ballard said. I don't think most people expected the rain from the storm, but it seems like the area also doesn't have the resources it needs for water rescues, he said. The Hazens said they aren't sure they will return to their house, which they had bought in February. Tanya said they were told that the house had flooded during the extreme flooding of Hurricane Harvey, but has since learned that the house flooded 2 times previously. Despite the loss of all their belongings, the Hazens feel blessed to be alive. It's hard. There are pictures and things that I can't replace. I am thankful that we are alive and God guided and protected us. He led me to the door when we needed to get out, she said. There are things that insurance can't cover, but everything else can be replaced. I am still processing it. So for Ms. Hazen, you're in the audience, I understand? Please stand.
This is Miss Hazen. She's the one that
The life-saving certificate and citation bar may be awarded to an officer for meritorious conduct or an act performed in the line of duty which, through disregard of personal safety or prompt and alert action, results in saving a human life and/or first aid response. So I'd like to ask Carlos Herrera and Mark Smith to come up front. On the morning of September the 19th, 2019, while Tropical Storm Imelda caused extensive flooding to the area, which exhausted county resources for water rescues, leaving Tanya Hazan, her daughter, and their family dog in a near-death situation. They were forced to escape their flooded house, only to stand on the top of their car's roof completely submerged in rushing water. The scared mother and daughter had been on the phone several times begging for a rescue boat that was just not available. Officer Carlos Herrera and Maintenance Supervisor Mark Smith was part of the rescue team that decided to take action. Carlos and Mark took a heroic life-saving role in the rescue team that located a boat in a nearby resident's backyard to use for the rescue. Mark Smith and Officer Herrera volunteered to be a 2-man team in an ill-equipped boat that would prove to be only good for a one-way trip. This allowed Maintenance Supervisor Mark Smith and Officer Carlos Herrera to rescue Tanya Hazan, her daughter, and dog while they were standing in shin-deep rushing water above the top of their car that they were standing on. After locating and pulling the victims onto the boat, they found that the electric motor was not powerful enough to make it back to safety. The team held onto the roof of the house until another rescue boat could be located and sent to pull them to safety. Carlos Herrera and Mark Smith, through disregard of personal safety, prompt and alert actions, resulting in saving human lives. Chief Carlisle Chief Carlisle wants Mark and Carlos to know that nothing has gone unnoticed. This is why Officer Carlos Herrera and Mark Smith deserve this life-saving award. Chief Carlisle proudly wrote and signed this Chief of Police commendation. Without Carlos Herrera and Mark Smith's quick action that day, there may have been a more tragic outcome. They did an outstanding job and deserve this life-saving award. To any member of the police department who has distinguished themselves by an outstanding achievement, act, or service within the normal scope of their duties. A person may be recommended for a letter by any member of the police department. The recommendation should be written to the chief of police through the chain of command, fully explaining the details of the incident and the reasons for the commendation. The recommendation will be considered solely by the chief of police. The letter of recognition will be written and signed by the chief of police and presented to the employee. Captain Demetria Jasonis and Liz Mullane, please come forward. Captain Demetri Jasonis and city administrator was part of the rescue team that decided to take action to save the lives of Tanya Hazan and her daughter. Captain Jasonis took a command role in the rescue team. Liz Mullane took a logistics role and located a boat in a nearby resident's backyard to make the rescue. Captain Jasonis made a decision to send a two-man team in an ill-equipped boat that would provide to be only good for a one-way trip to perform the rescue. This allowed maintenance supervisor Mark Smith and Carlos Herrera to rescue Tanya Hazan, her daughter, and dog, who were standing in shin-deep rushing water above the top of the car they were standing on. After some time had passed and the team did not come back, Liz Mullane and Captain Jasonis was able to flag down another rescue boat headed to an unrelated rescue and send them to rescue the original rescue team and victims to pull them back to shore. Captain Demetri Jasonis and Liz Mullane displayed great leadership in the rescue. It is a difficult decision to send a team into a dangerous situation knowing they may not come back. Chief Carlisle wants Liz and Demetri to know that nothing has gone unnoticed. This is why Captain Demetri Jasonis and City Administrator Liz Mullane deserves this Chief of Police letter of recognition. Chief Carlisle proudly wrote and signed this letter of recognition.
She wants to say something to him. Do you want the mic or you just want to talk to him?
I just really haven't had a chance to thank you. Thank you all very much for rescuing us. And I keep hearing the story how, we were shin deep, standing on top of the car. And as y'all picked us up and were waiting, the water rose that much more to where we're hanging off of the gutters of the roof. And, had Carlos not called back to just verify that, if we had been rescued or not, we would still be standing on the car or trying to get to the roof or even wash down the current to the forest. And, I'm just so glad you had that insight to call, to check, to just verify that, if we needed help or not, because we were in a very bad situation. And I thank you all very much. Y'all are a great team, the way you pulled everything together. And had, the rescue was going. Unfortunately, not fast enough. But I'm very grateful for you all. Thank you very much for coming out.
I wanted to point out one thing that she may not know, but we do have a rescue boat now. We don't have to borrow one anymore. We actually purchased a rescue boat that's suitable for swift water rescue.
Officer of the Year awards are worn as achievements above any meritorious awards, but are presented as the person of honor at this event. The Officer of the Year and Reserve Officer of the Year is not always that officer that made a one-time honorable act of bravery, but rather that officer that is consistent in their contribution to this department. The Officer of the Year must be a recipient of the Officer of the Year award. Recipients should demonstrate and continually promote the department's goals and missions. Areas of consideration should include exceptional work ethic, expertise and integrity, superior overall performance in his or her areas of responsibilities, initiatives to take on commitments above and beyond the call of duty, exceptional ability to interact with peers and the public in crisis situations, as well as day-to-day activities, and exceptional contributions to the department and the community. What is an Officer of the Year? Is it the officer that makes the most DWI arrests for the year? Maybe. Is it the officer who writes the most citation or makes the most arrests? Sometimes. It is the officer who impresses the chief on a continuous basis all year long. It is the officer who says yes sir and yes ma'am, not only to his superiors, but to the people they serve. It is the officer who follows the rules and orders without question. It is the officer who fails but never gives up and picks himself up once and again and succeeds. I am proud to recognize Officer Jacob Culver. As Officer of the Year, Jacob Culver has been on the force for 2 years now, and he always strives to learn more, follow the rules, and be a team player. Jacob is a person you can always count on. If you want a task done correctly, he is your man. Officer Culver has recently started training officers and will soon officially become a field training officer. Officer Jacob Culver has been nominated for the East Montgomery County Outstanding Officer of the Year. For these reasons and many more, Officer Jacob Culver is deserving of being this year's Officer of the Year. That concludes that part of the award ceremony. And again, I'd like to thank Chief Carter. I don't ever remember being that young, but you look like babies out there to me now. But remember one thing, your job is to go home at the end of your shift. So keep your head on the swivel, stay fluid, and I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I think he's done an outstanding job tonight. I've probably had a couple spelling errors in here that I'm sure I will hear about later. So thank you. You did a good job. All right, I want to get our, does our president have any closing statements? Do you want to address anybody? No? Speech. No? Okay. All right, I want to get our post 9/11 explorers up here. Just go ahead and come up here and stand in line here. They're going to assist me with a little something here. I'm sure you guys spend a little bit of money at the door with some door prizes and stuff like that, so we're going to get all that squared away right now. And afterwards, all the uniformed officers, I don't want them to leave. I want to do a group photo. So make sure once we're done with this, you don't just bolt out the door. I need a good group photo. So this is our, they're not in uniform, except he's got a shirt there. But usually they attend our event uniform. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but there's a good number of them here. These are our Roman Forest Police Explorers. They operate out of Porter High School. They've competed against other law enforcement explorers. They've won all kinds of trophies. one year they brought their trophy table out here, and I'm sure they've added to it quite a bit, and it was magnificent. So, can I do this? They are explorers, like, and they perform all these tasks that we perform, like handcuffing and stuff like that. They perform them better than some of these guys that I see in the field. They do an awesome job. So, but anyway, I appreciate everything you guys are doing and learning. Hopefully, when y'all get of age, you'll be applying in the law enforcement career, or maybe you're learning you don't want to. I don't know. But these guys are going to help us with the raffle. I'm going to get that raffle